Hi, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the program. You are watching Andrew Richter, the television show. So glad to have you with us as always. Now, ladies and gentlemen, you might have already noticed I have a little cold today, not feeling too well. Even though it's always a sunny day in my world, I'm going to do something I rarely ever do on this program. I'm going to let somebody else do most of the talking. I want to introduce somebody who's trying to shake things up here in District 45, represent us in St. Paul, Mr. Mark Martin.
Hey.
How are you doing, sir?
Good.
Welcome
How are you?
to the program.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Why don't you tell our audience out there what you're running for and why you're running?
Well, I'm Mark. I'm running for the House of Representatives in District 45A. I've been in the United States Army and the Minnesota Army National Guard for the last 20 years. Veteran of Iraq, veteran of Afghanistan, father and husband. I've got 2 children. Connor's going to be going to Armstrong High School in the fall, and Riley's starting Plymouth Middle School. So both kids are entering a new school this year, and we're just trying to get everything in order and get their extracurricular activities squared away on top of doing all the campaign stuff. So I'm excited to be in the race this year, and I'm excited to take this opportunity to say hello to all those in the district who haven't had a chance to meet me yet. I'm really looking forward to seeing you at your doorstep over the next couple of months.
Cool. You know, we probably should say for the audience, if you don't know, District 45A is all of New Hope, the far east precincts in Plymouth from 36th Avenue North, as well as 3 of the 8 precincts in Crystal. If you don't know, you can go to the Secretary of State's website. Unfortunately, you have to see a picture of our Blagojevich-looking Secretary of State, but you can type in your zip code. They'll tell you where you are, where you can vote, and all that good stuff. Okay, well, let me begin by asking about what's happened over the last 2 years. The last biennium, we had the unallotment by the governor after we couldn't reach a budget deal in 2009. We had the court ruling saying he couldn't do that. Then the legislature just basically tidied up and kicked it to next year. What are your thoughts about that, just as a citizen and just as a taxpayer? What are your thoughts on the legislature's performance the last 2 years?
Well, I think first and foremost we need to remember that the legislature is elected and sent to St. Paul for a couple of specific reasons. One is to make the laws, and the other is to balance the budget. That's as set forth in our state constitution. And so one of their primary jobs, the one they should be focusing on the most, is balancing our budget. If you notice the way that they conducted business in 2009, they didn't really ever get around to doing that until the last couple of weeks of the legislative session. And I think the reason that they did it that way is because they had hoped to force the governor to call a special session so that they could continue to, I guess, waste more time. I really don't know why they would do something like that, but the point of that is that they didn't do their job, and they didn't take seriously the budget deficit that we had and what was going on. And so what you end up having is the governor chose not to call a special session. He chose instead to unallot some of those funds, and as a result of that, you know, a lot of those legislators that refused, I guess, to do their job to begin with ended up crying foul and howling about the heartlessness of our governor and the fact that how dare he, you know, unallot these funds for all these really, really important programs that we're sending money to. And so as a result, that went on for a couple of, well, not a couple of years, but about a year, and then the state Supreme Court, as you know, decided that that was unconstitutional, and they told him that he couldn't do that, so it had to go back to the drawing board with the legislature. And what they ended up doing is basically coming to a solution that mirrored that of the governor, which I find a little bit amusing. You know, they did put off almost $6 to $8 billion to the next biennium, which was, I guess, you know, that's a little bit of abdication of responsibility. I think the reason they did that is because they knew that after the election was done and over with, if they could retain their majority, then they could come back in and raise taxes like they really want to do. So what you saw over the last couple of years is a legislature that has refused to do its job, and people that are wasting the taxpayers' time and income. They're wasting away everything that they're doing in St. Paul. They're just not fulfilling their obligations as legislators for which we've elected them. So.
Yeah, you know what I always find interesting is the governor has to propose a budget in February. Why can the legislature wait till Memorial Day to propose a budget? I mean, that just seems to be pretty unfair. Well, let